Trump slams Fed Chair Powell. His termination cannot come fast enough. In a fiery escalation of an already fraught relationship, former President Donald Trump launched a blistering attack on Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, stating publicly that his termination cannot come fast enough. The sharp criticism came via a Truth Social post this morning that has sent shockwaves through financial markets and reignited a complex legal debate about presidential powers over the Federal Reserve. A public clash reaches a boiling point. Trump's post marks the most explicit call yet from the former president to remove Powell, calling him always too late and wrong, and labeling a recent Fed report as a typical complete mess. The post comes just one day after Powell delivered his starkest warning yet regarding the economic toll of the Trump-backed tariffs. Speaking in Chicago, Powell warned that the tariffs could increase inflation, slow growth, and raise unemployment, economic consequences that would create a challenging scenario for the central bank. Jerome Powell of the Fed, termination cannot come fast enough, Trump wrote. Another complete mess from the Fed yesterday, as usual. Tariffs, inflation, and the Fed's role. The context of the clash is critical. Trump's renewed threats against Powell come amid increasing economic concerns over his own proposed trade policies. Powell has not minced words about the economic impact of new tariffs, stating they would almost certainly lead to higher prices for consumers and weaker economic growth. Speaking in unusually direct terms, Powell said, "The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated. The same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth." He also emphasized the importance of the Fed's independence, receiving a rare round of applause for saying, "There is broad support in both parties for an independent Fed. We do not bow to political pressure." Can the president actually fire the Fed chair? Trump's aggressive rhetoric has raised the legal question, can a president remove the Federal Reserve chair? The answer, legal scholars say, is unclear. This is murky constitutional ground, said legal analyst Ellie Honig on CNN. As of now, based on precedent from a 1935 Supreme Court case, Humphrey's Executor versus United States, the president cannot fire the head of an independent agency like the Fed unless it's for cause such as misconduct or dereliction of duty. However, the Trump administration and others before it have shown interest in challenging that precedent. If Trump, or another president, were to attempt Powell's removal, the issue could end up before the Supreme Court. There's another case already ahead in line, Honig noted, referring to a challenge involving the firing of members of other independent boards. So even if Powell's case doesn't decide it, we may soon get clarity on the president's powers. A history of tension. This is far from the first time Trump has clashed with Powell. The former president spent much of his first term publicly urging the Fed to cut interest rates. He often accused Powell of undermining economic growth, despite the Fed's legal mandate to operate independently of political influence. The latest spat, however, feels more personal and more public. It comes amid speculation that Trump, should he return to office, may attempt to reshape the Fed's leadership more aggressively, possibly by challenging existing legal norms. Powell stays focused and hits the gym. Despite the rising political tension, Powell appeared composed and even light-hearted during his recent public appearance. In addition to outlining economic concerns, he spoke briefly about his personal life, mentioning that he enjoys FaceTiming his grandchildren and working out at the gym. But beneath the levity lies a serious warning. The Fed expects higher inflation and slower economic growth, and Powell made clear the central bank will not act as a rescue vehicle in the face of policy-driven market turmoil. What's next? With Trump's rhetoric heating up and Powell standing firm, this standoff could have far-reaching implications, not only for the economy, but also for the balance of power between the presidency and independent agencies. As one analyst put it, we're witnessing a test of constitutional limits, economic leadership, and political pressure all rolled into one very high-stakes showdown. Whether this ends in a courtroom or at the ballot box, one thing is certain. The tension between Trump and Powell isn't going away anytime soon.